Hello everyone, and welcome back to Technos. Before we dive into part 2, let's quickly recap what we covered in part 1. We started by launching an EC2 instance and creating an external data volume and attaching to the instance. We then explored concepts like modifying the volume size, availability zone restrictions, and also the EBS multi-attach support. In part 2, let's move on to creating snapshots and restoring volumes. So let's get started. Now let's take our scenario a step further. This time, I have two EC2 instances in two different availability zones, one in 1D availability zone and another one in 1E. And the data volume is attached to this 1D EC2 instance. And if I need to make it accessible to the instance in 1E, can I simply detach it and attach to this EC2 instance? No, that's because EBS volumes are restricted to the same availability zone. So the EBS and the EC2 instance must be in the same availability zone in order to attach. And the EBS volume cannot be moved across availability zones that we covered in part 1. However, one way to achieve this is by taking a snapshot of the volume. A snapshot is essentially a backup of the volume. So EBS volumes are AZ specific, meaning a volume created in one availability zone, for example, exists only within that availability zone. This is why an instance in a different availability zone cannot access it directly. But unlike volumes, the snapshots are region specific. And these snapshots are available across all availability zones within the same region. This means I can take a snapshot of a 1D volume and create a new volume in 1E availability zone. Since the snapshot retains all original data, the new volume in 1E will be identical to the one in 1D. Please note that there are other ways to make a volume available across instances, but for this demo, I'm using snapshots to show you how backups and volume restoration work. Now let's see this in practice. I already have an EC2 instance running in 1D with a data volume created. Okay. So I already have an EC2 instance created in 1D. So let's create another EC2 instance in 1E. Connect to the instance which is created in 1D. And we'll create a file in the EBS data volume. Then we'll create a snapshot, which will also include the file. Now we will create another volume in 1E availability zone from the snapshot and attach it to the 1E instance. This volume will also have this file. Finally, we will validate if the file is present by connecting to the 1A instance. So go to AWS Management Console and navigate to EC2. I'm here right now. I have an instance in 1D. Let me change the tag to 1D instance. Now this EC2 instance is having two volumes as already discussed. One is root volume and another one is data volume. Now let's launch another EC2 instance in 1E. So click on launch instance. Under names and tags, I will name it as 1E instance. Under Amazon machine image, choose Amazon Linux 2, which is under free tier. And also T2 Micro, which is under free tier as well. For now, we will proceed without a key pair. And edit the network settings. Choose availability zone 1E under the subnet. Stick with the root volume for the storage. Finally, click launch instance and wait for the instance to provision. So click on view all instances. And if you refresh, you will see 1A instance is launched now. And in the left navigation, under the Elastic Block, go to volumes and you should be seeing a root volume created for the 1E instance. Okay, so just name it as 1E root volume for easy navigation. So we have launched an EC2 instance in 1E. Now let's connect to the 1D instance and create a file in the EBS data volume. Okay, so go to instances, select 1D instance and click on connect. Under EC2 instance connect, click connect again and wait for the session to establish. Now run sudo yum update -y to update all the instance packages to latest, and then run lsblk to see the available volumes or disks. You can see a root volume of 8 GB and a data volume of 3 GB. So as you can see, the data volume is a new volume and it is in unformatted state. So in order to create files into that particular volume, we need to format it first to make a file system. So run sudo mkfs make file system -t ext4 and the path of the volume. So dev, the volume name is xvdb. Okay, so sudo runs the command as a super user because formatting a disk requires admin privileges. mkfs stands for make file system, a command used to create a new file system on a disk or a partition. -t ext4 specifies the type of the file system to be created. ext4 is modern and widely used file system for Linux. However, you have other options like ext3, xfs, etc. And -dev is a disk and xvdb is a volume you are formatting. So click enter. The file system is created now. So what we will do, we have an EBS volume with a path of xvdb, right? And we have an EC2 instance. We will create a folder. Let's say my folder name is a data volume in the EC2 instance and mount this particular folder to the volume. So mounting the volume means linking it to a folder. Okay, so this allows us to read and write data on this volume. So whatever the data which I store in this particular folder, it actually stores in this volume. Go back to the terminal and let's create the folder first and then we will mount it. So sudo mkdir make directory mkdir, the folder name is data volume. This command creates a folder or directory. So in Linux, it's called a directory, whereas in Windows or Mac, we refer it as a folder. Now, when I say ls, it should be showing a folder which is created. So clear the screen. To mount the volume, run the following command, sudo mount the path of the volume, xvdb, and the data volume. Okay. Now this volume is linked to the folder called data volume, and you can store files there. Now to confirm, run lsblk again. So you will see the volume is now mounted to the data volume folder. Now let's navigate to the data volume folder. So say cd, so change directory and the data volume. So clear the screen. Now let's create a file with some content using the following command, sudo echo EBS snapshot restoration test. Okay, I'm adding these contents to a file called snapshot test.txt. So it says permission denied. So let's elevate myself into sudo su. So let's run the same command as a root user. Say enter. It looks like the file is created. So when you're running as a root user, sudo is optional. So when you run ls, you should be seeing a file called snapshot_test.txt. If you want to see the contents which we added into the file, so just run cat, the file name. So you can see the content here. Now volume is ready with some file. Now let's take a snapshot from this particular EBS data volume. So go back to the console, locate the data volume. So under the volumes, this is the data volume which is created in 1D. Okay, so in which the file is being created now. Select the volume, go to actions and click on create a snapshot. Give a description as data volume snapshot. And you can simply add a tag as a snapshot again and click on create snapshot. So you can see the snapshot. Under the volumes, you have snapshots. So you can see it's in pending state as of now. So let's give it some time to complete. So after waiting for a while, I'll see the snapshot has now moved to completed state. Now let's create a volume from the snapshot in 1A availability zone and we'll attach to the instance. Okay. So select the snapshot, go to actions and click create volume from snapshot, the first option. Choose 1A under the availability zone. And you can also change the volume size and the volume type if required. Okay, as of now, I'm just going with the default ones. I will add a tag as 1E data volume and click create volume. So go back to the volumes. You should be seeing a volume is now created. Okay, but it is not yet attached to instance. In order to attach it, click on the volume, go to actions and attach volume. So you should be finding an instance in 1E. Okay, so select a device name randomly and click on attach volume. Now finally, we will connect to this EC2 instance in 1E and validate if the file is being present in this EBS volume or not. So go to instances, select 1E instance, click on connect. Under the instance connect, click on connect again and wait for the session to establish. So sudo yum update as a mandate command. Okay. Now run lsblk to see the volumes. So you can see two volumes. One is root volume, another one is data volume. This particular data volume is not a new volume. Okay. So it has been restored from a snapshot. So we shouldn't be formatting this particular volume. Instead, we have to mount it. Okay. So like we did for the last instance, we will mount it by creating a folder. So sudo mkdir. I'll create a folder name called restored data volume. Okay. Now mount this folder to the volume. Sudo mount devxvdb and the folder name. Enter. Now run lsblk to confirm that the volume is mounted to this folder. Clear the screen. Now let's go to this particular folder. Restored data volume and run ls. You should be seeing a file snapshot test.txt which created in 1D. So if you go to the 1D instance, this is the 1D instance. So you see the snapshot.txt has been created, right? So the same file we are seeing in 1E instance also. Yeah, now we are in 1E instance. And you can see the file is reflecting here. Now we can also see the contents. So cat, the snapshot test.txt, you should be seeing the same content. So taking a snapshot and creating a new volume from it proves that EBS snapshots preserves all data from the original volume, and the new volume created from the snapshot is an exact copy, confirming that snapshots can be used for backups, recovery, and migration across availability zones. So let's do the cleanup. Let's terminate the instances. So select both the instances. Instance state, click on terminate instance and confirm it. Wait for the instances to change the instance state from shutting down to terminated. So after a while, it turned to terminated state. Now go to volumes under the Elastic Block Store. So do a refresh. The root volumes of the instances are deleted because of the delete on termination flag is on for the root volumes by default. Whereas for data volumes, it is off. So they got detached from the instances and are in available state. So select both the data volumes. Go to Actions. Select Delete Volume. And type delete to confirm. In the left navigation again, go to Snapshot. Select the snapshot, go to Action and delete the snapshot as well. Yeah, that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and happy learning.